Have you ever wondered what would happen if, day after day, you found the courage to get just a little better? Not much. Just 2%. Imagine a world where each sunrise wasn't just the start of another day, but an invitation to become a truer version of yourself. This is not just a story about habits and discipline. It is about transformation, about the small, invisible revolutions that happen in silence, under your skin, within the borders of your identity. If you're new here, I want you to pause for a moment and subscribe to Growth Mindset Project. This channel is space for those of us who hunger for growth, who crave that sense of becoming. Click on the bell too, so you don't miss a step in this journey. We are climbing together, and every notification is an invitation to move forward. When I first came across the idea of improving just a tiny percentage every day, I could feel something shifting beneath the surface of my life. But I made a quiet decision. Multiply that. Let's become 2% better every day. Not just a sliver, but a slice. Because sometimes one isn't enough. Sometimes you are desperate to break a cycle, to shatter a ceiling you keep hitting your head against. I was done with crashing back to zero after every good streak. I was done with becoming a stranger to my own potential. I wanted to change everything. Not just once, but every single day I drew breath. This idea was not about perfection. It was about building a foundation so deep that even when the storms came, I could stay standing. Everything starts with discipline. The quiet, sturdy backbone of any kind of freedom. Mental, physical, spiritual, and, unexpectedly, financial. Have you noticed how the world tells us that money comes first? But when I looked at my life, I realized that discipline was always the last thing that arrived for people who chased only wealth. For me, it was the opposite. I built myself from the inside out, 5 years sculpting habits, like an artist molding clay. At 21, after all that effort, I found myself living pieces of the dream I'd only whispered to myself at 16. But here's the unvarnished truth. I did all this self-work, rewired my dopamine, made my bones strong in resilience and routine, but I neglected my finances. This, I learned, is the advanced level of self-improvement. Because you are both the architect and the building. Results in business or love or health, they're not distant prizes. They're the shadow cast by your identity, and you cannot outrun your own shadow. So who is the person you want to become? What kind of gravity do you want your habits to generate? Every decision, every repeated action is a vote, a silent ballot for your future self. You can say you want to be a millionaire, an athlete, a Renaissance soul. But if your daily actions are spent scrolling, wandering, drifting from one easy distraction to another, your mind will catch on. You lose trust in yourself. That fracture, that quiet unraveling at the center of your being, keeps you from change. Let's talk about identity, because I believe it's everything. Identity isn't a lightning bolt struck from the sky. It's built from the soil of your routines, the weather of your thoughts, the architecture of your habits. How you think shapes how you feel. How you feel creates emotion. Emotion becomes vibration, and that vibration pulls possibilities towards you. So the advice is this: think only of what you want. Don't waste a moment on what you don't desire. Your identity is the bloom cultivated by the habits you tend to each and every day. Building habits isn't a shiny overnight transformation. Each practice, a morning jog, a quiet meditation, an act of gratitude, is a single brushstroke. Add enough strokes, and abruptly you see a masterpiece taking form. For years, I tried and failed, launched and crashed, dropshipping, agencies, sales, but because the person beneath the hustle wasn't consistent, none of it stuck. The moment I forged my core, saw myself anew, built a bedrock of discipline, everything shifted. When I launched my YouTube journey, the results followed, not instantly, not in a deluge, but in an unbroken stream. 100,000 of you are here now. That silver plaque, a symbol, sure, but more so, a reflection of the cumulative power of tiny daily decisions. If you get lost in the rituals, in self-improvement for its own sake, you can miss the bigger picture. Eventually, it comes down to more, building not only habits, but systems that sustain you financially and spiritually. Because what's the use of being balanced and wise if you're always worried about bills, if you're a prisoner to your job, unable to buy yourself the freedom to read, meditate, create? That, finally, is what I learned. The last frontier of self-improvement is when you pour your discipline and mindset into making money, not for its own sake, but for the liberty it gives you to deepen your practice, to explore your potential with fewer chains. Let's get specific. Your body needs rituals. Stretch, sweat, nourish yourself. Your mind requires discipline. Read, reflect, write, meditate. Your soul, feed it with silence, with gratitude, with the subtle touch of stillness. Finances? Set habits to learn, build, create wealth. This, too, is a spiritual act when done with intention and heart. So why do most people stall? Because the basics are boring, grinding, repetitive. The foundations are unglamorous, but essential. When you master the minutes, the micro-habits, then the hours, the days, the years bend to your will. Every successful person I've studied, every mentor I've quietly observed, they read, they write, they keep a routine that reinforces their self-belief, their vision. The habits themselves are not magic, but they create the version of you who can do the hard things, over and over, until the extraordinary becomes ordinary. If you're finding resonance here, a heartbeat like your own echoing through these words, let me ask you, have you liked this video? If it's moving something inside you, let the algorithm know so others can find this too. And I'm inviting you, in this very moment, to share your story in the comments below. Have you faced the grind of starting over? Do you know the struggle of building a self layer upon trembling layer? I want to hear your voice, because our journeys, though unique, are made of the same stardust. Now imagine this. The greatest tragedy is not failure, but regret. To one day look back and wish you had pushed harder, risked more, believed beyond the edge of your comfort. The haunting thought that maybe, just maybe, you could have gone further. It is this that wakes me some mornings, a quiet storm inside, reminding me that complacency is the enemy of growth. So start with 1%. Let that be your foundation. But then, dare to double it. Dare to ask, what if 2% is possible? Half a year ago, I made a decision that cracked open my life. I invested, committed, poured myself into deep productivity. I studied the architecture of my minutes, mapped every choice, every input. It was not glamorous. Some days, it was just showing up, no matter how fragile or tired or unsure. But slowly, quietly, the world began to change. My income, once nothing, began to whisper, then shout. Freedom bloomed where fear used to live. I made the decision to never again leave my life to chance or distraction. To build with intention, to become not just skilled, but unbreakable in mindset, capable of deep, focused work. This is not about being everything to everyone. It's about mastering yourself across the spectrum. Not the jacked body with an empty wallet, nor a fat bank account with an ailing soul. The fulfillment is in becoming whole. Wealth, health, purpose, relationships. They are the points of a compass, and you are the navigator. Make your map with discipline as your ink. And when you fall, because you will fall, just as I did, just as everyone worth learning from has, remember. The next small step is all that matters. The difference between those who create lives they love and those who live forever wishing is just this. Showing up again, writing another line, reading another page, training another day, loving a little deeper, risking a little more vulnerability in pursuit of growth. Have you ever heard of the self-made millionaire who hits rock bottom, loses it all, and yet somehow, within months, is back at the summit? How is that possible? It's because they're made of systems, of identity, not circumstance. When your process is ingrained deep enough, you become unbreakable. Losing everything doesn't mean losing who you are. So this, right here, is my invitation to you. Do you want to stop being a spectator in your own life? Do you want to move from dreaming to doing? From wishing to building? And as you move through today, remember this: a bad workout always beats a missed one. Progress is not found in perfection, but in persistence. The minutes stack upon the hours upon your years. In time, you will look back and see the architecture of your life. Bold, beautiful, built 2% at a time, with every sunrise that you chose, intentionally not to slip backwards. Don't forget to watch our other videos. Each one a map, each one another step closer to building the life you want. Hit that bell again. Let it be your reminder. Every day, you are a little closer to the future that's calling you. Take care. You've got this.